Okay. We're looking at next slide then. Going behind me.
Chapter 7.
Okay. All right. Special meeting of council Monday, July the 20th, 2015. Any additions or deletions? Hearing none. Adoption of the agenda is presented. Moved by Councillor Hames, seconded by Councillor Colson. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. June 22nd, 2015, regular council meeting minutes.
Move receipt. Rules of receipt of approval or whatever you want.
Move to approve it as presented.
Yeah, okay. Whatever you wanted last time.
Need a seconder? Councillor Colson, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Next item, presentations, delegations, and petitions, Wellfield Management Plan Stage 2. Who's doing the presentation?
I am.
Hi.
I'm Chris Holmes with Coors Associates. I think we've met before. Chris Downey, one of the other people of the company here as well. He's representing Rob Hoffman. Some of the council members will know Rob. Last dealing with him, but he's on vacation right now, so he sends his apologies for not being here, but Chris Downey is here in his absence. So I apologize for not being able to see the first couple of slides. They're color aerial photographs. It just shows the district of Lansville up into the foothills, and you can just catch the corner of the city of Nanaimo off to the right-hand side, and then just the edge of the district of Lansville over here. So our study it's called the Water Supply and Distribution System Study. This is a summary presentation of that report. It's a fairly extensive report, fairly thick. It's 187 pages, including appendices. What we're tasked with looking at the water supply system, and then also the distribution system, and determining is it adequate to meet its current needs. Let's move on to the next slide. Done this right. There we go. So the study purpose is assess the present and future capacity of the district's water supply source, review historical water demands and compare those with other municipalities, review and compare design standard water demands with those of other municipalities, analyze the ability of the water distribution system to deliver domestic and fire flow demands, and then provide recommendations to maintain an adequate level of service both now and in the future. And this is just the cover of our report. So the water supply source, there's 4 wells within the district system. Well number 9 is over here next to the park. This is Harvey Road East. Well number 4, well number 12, and now well number 6. All drilled at different years. And these are the production rates in cubic meters per day, meters per second. And this is approximately 1 liter, just for visual reference. So the wells are estimated to be able to produce about 23 liters a second, so we produce roughly about 23 of these bottles per second. The well field discharges into the Ware Road Reservoir, where it is treated by chlorination. So the well field is pumped, and they fill into this reservoir. And then treated water from here is then pumped up to the Old Road Reservoir, which services the high pressure zones. So there's 2 pressure zones. The lower pressure zone that serves the majority of the district, and then the high pressure zone that serves about a quarter of the district. Wellfield aquifer description. So this was the study that was done by Lowen Hydrology Consulting Group, and they presented their report back in February, March of this year. They did 2 reports, and so we've just done a quick summary, and we've incorporated their reports and their findings into ours. So the aquifer that the district's wells extract water from is labeled number 215 by the Ministry of Environment. The groundwater level fluctuates throughout the year, as most aquifers do. A review of the water levels revealed that they vary by up to 3 meters from the winter months to the summer months. So that's roughly 10 feet, rising and falling. The aquifer recharge is dependent on precipitation, snow and rainfall in the upland areas that infiltrate into the ground, and may also be recharged in part by groundwater flowing through the underlying bedrock. This is just a little figure that was included in the loan report that shows rain coming down, infiltrating through the soils, down into where the permeable layer is that the wells withdraw water from. And then this is the bedrock with fractures in it that lead into the strata that the wells are drawing from, and down here is the ocean. Current conditions and future conditions. Under current conditions, these are the 4 wells again. These are when they were drilled. These are diameter. They're all 200 millimeters or 8 inches in diameter. They have different depths that the standard water level is at. Well number 6 is actually an artesian, meaning the groundwater level is above the ground, and it's going to pop out about half a meter, which is just under 2 feet. The well depths, they vary from 16 to 24 meters, and the pumps, the motors within them vary from as low as a 5 horsepower to as high as a 20 horsepower, which are actually quite small. The total estimated yield again is around 2,000 cubic meters. In 2014, the maximum day demand, and we'll go over that, and another figure was 1,400 cubic meters, so there's a difference there of about 600 cubic meters or 7 liters per second, or approximately 7 of these per second. Individually, the pumps can pump more than when they're operating simultaneously due to interference from one well to the other. Individually, if you total these, one's 1,000, 800, 300, 700, total these up, these are more than 3,000 cubic meters, but you can't produce that from the well. It's estimated that under simultaneous pumping, if upgrades are done to the system, you might be able to capture 2,400 cubic meters. Again, your current maximum demand in 2014 was 1,400. That leaves you with a surplus of 1,000 cubic meters. So roughly a 41% increase over the 600 that we believe is currently there for low hydrological use. This is a review of demand over time, going back to 1996, and this is, again, the colors are hard to see, but this is the total demand, how much water is used over the entire year. As you can see, there's a general decline. This is the district's population. This is the population on this side from 0 to 4,000 people, and the district's population is estimated to be roughly about 3,500. It peaked here in about the mid-2000s, about 3,700. We've seen a slight decline, and that's occurring all over the island and BC as the population ages and families are smaller. And you can see there's a decline in demand between 2009 and 2011. We've seen that consistently over almost all municipalities we do studies for. And in fact, if you got the Vancouver Sun this past week, we've seen an article there about demands dropping in Vancouver over the past decade. And there's not an exact reason why it's occurring, but the general consensus is it's because of increase in metering of municipalities, public awareness of the need for conservation, and just people more education on people's demand that water is not an infinite resource, it's finite, and we've got to be conscious of how we use it on a day-to-day basis. So right now, this past year was approximately 250,000 cubic meters is the amount used in the total year. It's little blue lines, you can't really see them down here, but that's your average day. So if we take this 250,000 divided by 365 days in a year, that tells you how much water is being consumed on average each day. This top of the orange bar here is the maximum day. So this is the 1,400 that we were referring to earlier. So here just under 700 versus 1,400, so roughly a 2-times increase between your average day and your maximum day. On a monthly demand, this is how the water is consumed. January, February, March, April, May, as temperatures increase, you see the demands go up, and they peak in July and August. That's typical of almost all municipalities on the island that we see. And again, declining through the winter months, so the fall months, and then a slight increase in December, and coming back to February, repeating that cycle. This is green is this year, so this is going back from 2011 to 2015. We have January of this year, February of this year, March, April, and May, and we don't have the total for June. You can see there's this year was higher, generally speaking, in January and February than last year. March and April were slightly lower. And May, of course, May was much warmer than previous years, and there was a large spike in that. And of course, now on the stage 4 and water restrictions in July. And I think you're probably seeing there's actually going to be a slight decrease from the previous year. These large spikes here is unusual, and the cause for this was a water main leak on a water main. The district was aware that it was leaking, but they didn't know where it was leaking. They knew it was occurring in the upper pressure zone, but they couldn't find the actual stream of water running along the ground, which is very, very common. When a leak occurs, it generally stays subterranean. And then as the leak grows, it gets larger and larger, and eventually it surfaces, and staff can then find it. And they generally, it surfaces downstream, so they find it at a location they dig there, and then they got to dig back upstream to find the leak. But it was found when it was repaired near the end of February, and then you see demands were returned to normal. And we'll see that on the next slide. So again, this is just daily consumption going back from March 2011 to June of this year. So again, the rise and the fall, and we've noted the maximum days demands and when they occurred. So September 11th, July 24th, July 28th, and then this past year, July 14th to 14/21. And this is the water main leak that was occurring up on Hardwood Road. And then this is the estimated current yield, the maximum amount of water that can be taken out of the aquifer under your current pumps conditions. And that, again, that's estimated. You never know until you have to try and pump it out in its entirety. So where is water used within the district? So we'll just look at it on a bulk scale first, then we'll get into individual meters. So last year, this portion of the pie, and it's kind of hard to read, this is the total of all the individual meters in the district. That total just under 200,000 cubic meters, 196,000. So that's 78% of your water was actually metered for consumption. There's another 22% over here. This red is what we call non-revenue water. It means water was delivered in the system somewhere, but it wasn't billed for. So your actual generation of revenue comes from this individual meter. So that's all your residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, any person that gets a bill for using water, that's that portion of the pie. This portion, non-revenue, means just that there's no revenue generated from the consumption or the use of this water. That totals 22%, which is not unusual for most municipalities. We see non-revenue water varying. If it's a non-metered system, it can be as high as 40%. Metered systems, generally we're seeing around 20, 25%. So sometimes you get down to 15, but getting lower than that is very, very difficult and costly. So what is non-revenue water? Non-revenue water encompasses unbilled authorized consumption and apparent and real losses, which may consist of unbilled authorized consumption, which is water main flushing, sewer main flushing, fire department training and actual firefighting, public boulevard and playfield irrigations. Playfields, parks, anywhere that is public lands that are irrigated, but they're not metered for that. Where keeping those green spaces green. Apparent losses would be water theft, someone stealing water and it's just not detected. Either taking it from a fire hydrant or an illegal connection off the system, or they've got a connection before their water meter. Those things are quite rare. Then meter inaccuracies. Meter inaccuracies meaning the slide previously. So this entire pie is based upon the total of 2 meters. There's 2 meters, one that reads water coming out of the upper pressure zone reservoir, and out of the lower zone pressure reservoir, so that's the Olds Road and the Ware Road reservoir. So that's this total. And then we total up all the individual meters, and they came up to that. So the difference between the two is this red pie. So we have 2 meters versus 885 meters. 2 bulk meters, 885 individual meters. So revenue water, again, that 78%, or roughly 3/4 of that pie. Where is it used within the system? 88% is used by single-family residential. 3% used by other residential, which is another category. Then you have residential and commercial, uses 2%. Your commercial property consumes 3%. Public use is 3%, and then the industrial is using approximately 1% of your total demand. So again, the single largest user, as in almost all municipalities where there is not major industry, is your single-family residential. So taking a little closer look at single-family residential, the average use per connection in 2014 was 209 cubic meters. So that's sort of taking this area above the graph versus this area below the graph. So this area here versus this area here are virtually the same. So if you took that and filled in this area, it comes up to 209. That's roughly about 275 customers are using more than 209, while the other 500 or so are using less than 209 cubic meters per day. Your highest user is up around just under 1,300 cubic meters, single family. So how does that compare to on a land basis, or land use? So we looked at several other municipalities and just compared the District of Lanceville versus Tofino, Parksville, Nanaimo, and the Nukes Bay Water Service, and the town of Comox. And this is for 2012. We picked a year that we could all compare the same consumption on the same year, try and remove anomalies from year to year and temperature and whatnot. So the district's Tofino single family is 182, Parksville 199, Lanceville 218, Nanaimo 251, Nukes Bay 256, Comox 290. The Comox Valley local service area is 382. This is not a metered system, nor is town of Comox. The other ones are. On a multifamily basis, it's anywhere from 110 to as high as 264. And then commercial from a low of 571 to a high of 4,000. Comox is very skewed because it has a small fish processing plant for commercial, so it gets very, very high. Parksville is very high because they have so many resorts. And at Lanceville, we have no metering on multifamily units, but on commercial, we average about 523, which is consistent with Tofino or the Nukes Bay. So that's pretty average, as is this. You can see it's in the average range, a little bit on the lower side, your actual consumption for a single family. So on a per capita demand, per capita means per person. How much water does a person in the District of Lanceville use compared to other municipalities? So these are studies that we've done since 1995. We picked 2011 for census year. This is just to show population, just so you can compare one municipality to the other. The study year is when the study was actually done, and that's what these values are based on. So on a per person, the average day in the District of Lanceville is using 246 liters per person per day. That's just strictly single-family residential. When you take all the other water use in, like commercial, industrial, institutional, and divide it by the number of users, it jumps up to 321. And on a maximum day, it's roughly 663 liters per person per day. So that ratio between maximum day and average day total is 2.1. And these are the ratios over here, ranging anywhere from 1.7 to a high of 2.6 in Gold River. And you see Lanceville's, their demands are actually quite low for average day per person, as is the total as well. It's 246. It's the lowest out of any of them, as is their total is the lowest. And your maximum day is also very, very low. The ratio is the same between the average day and maximum day, but the actual amount that people are consuming is very low. So design demands. So there's a difference between what you actually use versus what the system is designed to deliver. And so we wanted to look at what's the difference between the District of Lanceville's design standards compared to other municipalities on the island. So we have average day, maximum day, the ratio, and then peak hour. Design standards include peak hour. We weren't able to analyze those on your actual consumption, but generally they're in the range of 1 to 2 times maximum day for a municipality this size, roughly speaking. So MMCD, this is a design standard that is it's not associated with a single municipality. It's called Master Municipal Contract Documents. That's a document that's produced by a number of municipalities who signed on to it and generated it, and it's used by a number of municipalities here on the island, including District of Kamloops River, the District of City of Port Alberni is now going to MMCD. City of Courtney is starting to go to MMCD. But these are the actual design standards for these municipalities. This is what their design standards are. For the Nanaimo, it's 455, average day. Maximum day is 1100. The ratio is 2.5. The peak hour is 1800. So the District of Lanceville, there's no average day demand. There's a maximum day. It's worked out to 1,380 liters per person per day. There's no there's a ratio. There's no peak hour demand design criteria set. So this 1,380, it's in the sort of in the range of what you're seeing in your neighboring municipalities. Closest being the City of Nanaimo, it's 1,135 here, 1,380, so very, very close to that. City of Parksville is 1,364, Lanceville is 1,380, so almost identical. And then Courtney and Comox and Down the River, 2,100, they're all the same, and for average day, maximum day, and peak hour, and that's generally just one municipality will use another municipality's design standards as a sort of an easy way of going about generating those values, and they found that those are generally in those ranges. We're actually seeing Comox's water demands drop and Courtney's drop, just like we're seeing in Lanceville. I think you'll actually see these standards change and might be closer to MMCD or thereabouts. So both Courtney and Comox have high irrigation demands in the summertime because they're not metered systems. So where is water slated to be provided in the District of Lanceville? According to the OCP, everything in blue are areas shaded for provision of water service. Presently, there's 885 lots that are serviced. That's single-family, multi-family, commercial, industrial, institutional. Within these shaded areas, there's approximately 441 lots that are developed that are not yet connected to your water system. So that totals 1,326 lots. There are 2 large developments proposed for Lanceville. The Lanceville Properties, which is roughly 239 lots, or 240 or 230, depending on how you count them. And then the Foothills, which is another 790 lots up through here. So Lanceville Properties is here, and some land here as well. So you add up all those lots, so it's just under 2,400 lots compared to your current 885 that are serviced. So it's a 2.7 times increase in what is presently serviced. If we take those 235 lots times it by the Canada Census 2.46 persons per household that was counted in the 2011 census, that means a population of 5,700. If you take your current population of 3,164 as of 2014, as estimated by Stats BC, not Stats Canada, and apply a 1% growth factor, by year 2065 you'd reach a population of 5,700. So roughly about 50 years you would reach that population. So that seems to imply that there's maybe somewhere between 30 to 50 years of housing available if these 2 developments were fully built out. That's just a speculation on my part. I don't know what's going to happen in the future or how much development would occur here versus other municipalities. So number of properties serviced. So we thought we'd just take your maximum day demand and your average day demand for 2014 and say, well, what if we serviced all of those lots? What if they were actually using water in 2014 at the rate that the 885 existing service lots were using? What would that look like? So there's your current. This light blue is an average day demand. The dark blue is your maximum day demand. So here, just under 700 cubic meters per day versus your 1,400 cubic meters per day that was on July 14th of this past year. Right here, you can't really see it, but this would be the demand from the Northwind Southwind, the 193 lots there. Next, this would be demand for Old Elm Road, where there's 80 lots. And we have Clark, Blackjack Road area of 70 lots. We have the Owen Road area of 80 lots. Bayview Park, Rummings, and Sabre Road area of 43 lots. The Farmer Road, 8 lots. So if we add all of those up, this would be your average day, this would be your maximum day, and this is what the well field is estimated to be able to produce. So you'll be able to meet your average day, but not your maximum day. Then what if we added in foothills and village, 790 lots or 30 lots, and 230 of village, the village area of landfill projects. Well, this would be your average day, and this would be your maximum day. And then this is just the line of the estimated yield if you're able to capture the water that's in the well field, if the wells were upgraded and able to produce their maximum rates. Again, we just caution, this is just speculation. One of the things that we really wrestled with in developing this was how do you anticipate what people will actually use in the future? Because landfills kind of had a moratorium on new development in that any new development must supply their own water supply source. So what if the data is saying, well, there may be actually additional water in the ground right now that you could actually use. So existing customers who have maybe been conditioned into being very conscious of how they use water because it's such a limited supply, if you start suddenly saying, well, actually our well field can actually supply more people, and you start supplying water to more people, the existing customers might say, oh, well, maybe I don't have to do so much conservation on my end, and I'm going to use a little bit more water, be a little bit more luxurious with having a bath every second day instead of once a week or something of that nature. Take a little bit longer shower, or water the garden a little bit more, or maybe grow vegetable garden than have in the past. So your demand per connection is actually going to go up. So the demand in 2014 is artificially low. So that's just a caution with that. This is just speculation on our part, just trying to get an understanding of what the system might be able to do. This is just looking at it from a different standpoint. We broke it out into average day, maximum day, and then we did maximum week. This is all the properties, all 2355. This is what their demand would be, just around almost 1,800 cubic meters per day on an average day. The well field estimate of 2,000 cubic meters and potentially up to 2,400 if the well field can produce that. This is your maximum day, and then this is your average week. So over a course of a week, you won't use the maximum day 7 days a week. As we showed on that earlier graph, there's a 1 day of peak and then it drops down leading up to it and after it. So on a maximum week, this is how much water you think would be used. Again, that's significantly more than what the well fields can produce. So any water above these lines has to be in storage in the system somewhere just to meet consumption demands. And those are really big numbers, especially on a weekly basis. This is again just looking at the same information from a different perspective. So we took the demands from some of the adjoining municipalities, their actual design demands, and saying based on their design demands, how many lots could the well field produce? Well, under the maximum day for the district of Lanceville in 2014, it was 663 liters per person per day. So that's 663 of these. Per connection, 1.61 cubic meters. So, and you can't really read this very well, but this says maximum number of connections serviced. So each of these lines with a maximum number of connections serviced. Green being good, red being bad. So if we were pumping at the maximum rate, at the 2014 level, 1,421 cubic meters a day, which was your maximum day demand, you could service all of your 885 connections. The demand went up to 1,600 cubic meters, you could service 1,000 connections. If you went up to 1,800, you could serve 1,100 connections. Went up to 2,000 cubic meters, which is what the well field currently can produce. Under July 14, 2014 demands, you could serve just under 1,300 connections with that volume of water. If you went up to 2,100, you could serve 1,300. If it went up to 2,400, you could serve 1,500 people. So this again is a what we believe to be the maximum amount that you can get out of your well field. What if you use the City of Nanaimo standards? Well, the City of Nanaimo's maximum days, again, as we talked about, 1,135. You cannot service more than 511 connections at 1,400. So, under your current day demand of last year 1,421 cubic meters per day, you could have only serviced, under the design standards, 500 connections, not your 885 that are currently there. Going up to 1,600, 584, and so on down here to the ultimate yield of the well field. You service up to 869, so you can just barely serve, just almost service all of your existing connections if you capture all the water from your well field. And then again, same for Fairwinds, for Parksville, Distant Gladdenville, your on-site well at 1,380 liters per person per day. That's your design standards right now. If you apply those standards, maximum day demand, you could have only serviced 421 connections. Under the current configuration of the well field, maybe just around 600. If you could upgrade it to the 2,400, 715. If you apply Quality Beaches standards, which is the highest of the ones that we looked at, you can service only from 326 to 535 connections. Just a note that the provincial government in 2008 brought up the BC Living Water Smart program. And it was emphasizing water conservation. That program is still in effect. The program requires that 50% of all new municipal water needs to be acquired through conservation by year 2020. So that was probably one of the reasons why we've also seen a drop in water demands, because municipalities are now realizing that they're not going to get new licenses from the province. This was just applied to surface water sources, because at the time in 2008, groundwater sources were not licensed by the province. They are now. They've been brought in as licensing. And I don't know, we don't know, if this same program will be applied to groundwater. All new demands. 50% of it must come through conservation, which will be a challenge for the district of Rancho, because your demands are already so low. But that's a discussion that could occur at another level. Climate change, we just want to talk a little bit about that in the report. But what is climate change? We hear lots of talk about climate change. Climate change is a long-term shift in weather conditions, and it's measured by changes in a variety of climate indicators. Temperature, precipitation, wind, including both changes in average and extreme conditions. The Government Canada Climate website says, over the period of 1948 to 2010, the average annual temperature in Canada has warmed by 1.6 degrees Celsius, a higher rate of warming than in most other regions of the world. Future warming will be accompanied by other changes, including the amount and distribution of rain, snow, and ice, and the risk of extreme weather events such as heat waves. I'll identify that one right now. Heavy rainfalls and related flooding, dry spells and/or droughts, and forest fires. Again, another big one that we're seeing here in BC and Saskatchewan and Alberta. The potential impact of climate change may have on either the district's water supply source, which again is Act 215, or changes in water demands by the consumer is not known. Can't predict human behavior very well. Generally, it is expected that the Vancouver Island region will experience drier summers and wetter winters. So, as we talked about earlier, the district has two reservoirs, the upper reservoir and the lower reservoir. The upper reservoir is the Old Road Reservoir. And reservoirs serve three functions. They provide storage to fight fires. They provide peaking storage, demands in the system, and that's based on a percentage of maximum day. And then they have emergency storage, which is again 25% of fire flow and peaking storage. And this is a formula that's readily accepted by almost all municipalities in BC, and it comes out of the MMCD document standards. So in 2014, on the upper reservoir, the land use in there is single-family residential, and according to what's called a fire underwriter survey, their demand to fight a residential fire in a single-family residential area, they vary depending on the size of the structures and what they're built of. On an average, it's 75 liters per second for 2 hours. So every second, you need 75 of these for 2 hours. And that works out to a volume of 540 cubic meters. Peaking storage, which is just 25% of your maximum days, 25% of that 1,421 cubic meters, 91 cubic meters. And then emergency storage, which is 25% of your fire flow, and your peaking storage is another 158. So the total volume required is 790 cubic meters. The reservoir right now can hold 240, so there's a deficit there of 550 cubic meters. So basically, you need another 2 reservoirs in addition to what you have in place right now, a little bit more than 2. In the year 2040, so we just went forward 25 years into the future and projected demand based on that 1% population growth. We said your fire flow storage, that stays the same, 75 liters per second for 2 hours. It's a single-family residential land use. Your maximum demand has gone up because your population has gone up, so it's gone from 91 to 231 on the low side, and on the high side it was 359. So we put in a range of what the maximum demand might be, just to give us a bracketing of what demands might be in 2040. So we've got a high demand and a low demand. Again, peaking storage is emergency storage is fire plus peaking, and that ranges from 193 to 213. Total is up there. 964 versus 1100. Again, your existing is 240, so your storage deficit is 724 versus 872 cubic meters. We did the same analysis on the lower pressure zone. This is your Ware Road reservoir that was built in 2006. Most of you will see it if you're driving up on Ware Road, where you get to the Old Road intersection. Fire storage. Now in the lower pressure zone you have lots of different land uses. You have single family residential, you have commercial, you have some industrial, you have some institutional. And those fire demands vary. So we brought in a variable in here as well. 200 liters per second for 2 hours versus 250 liters per second for 3 hours. This is coming from the Fire Underwriter Survey. And if you go up to 300 liters per second, they're requiring that you have that volume available for 3 hours, not just 2.5. Sorry, yes, also for 4 hours, isn't it? Is that right, Chris? 4 hours, sorry. For 4 hours. So 200 for 2 hours, 250 for 3, 300 liters per second is for 4 hours. So again, your reservoir volume is increased. The rationale being there is when you get into very large structures, you have lots of fuel there and you want to keep those under control, so you throw lots of water at it. So they're talking about 300 liters a second, so 300 of these per second for 4 hours to fight that fire. So that volume, from 1,400 cubic meters to 2,700. Peaking storage, again, 24% maximum demand, 264. The emergency storage is 426 to 741. Total goes up. So the total volume required in 2014 is 2,100 versus 3,700. Presently, you have just under 1,900 cubic meters, so the deficit storage there 243 to 1,818. But you also have storage in your upper pressure zone that can feed down into the lower pressure zone to fight a fire. So we said there's 100 cubic meters there coming into the system. Minus those, it says your deficit storage in the lower pressure zone is 143 to 1,700 cubic meters. And then again in 2014, a high and a low range. Your total demands, or total volume required is anywhere from 2,720 versus 4,100. Yeah, this this 2,720 is kind of just a little bit larger than what you see there. And current storage is 1,887, so your deficit is 383 versus 2,200. That probably shouldn't be 100 there. That should have been 540. It's an error on our part. Sorry about that. So you have 540 in the upper pressure zone. So you have a surplus of 157 versus deficit of 1,700 cubic meters.
That would be post-upgrade, wouldn't it, the 540? Or
Yes.
does that assume that the whole reservoir volume now has come down to...
Well, yeah,
No, sorry, back at the 100. I apologize for that.
That's the existing, and the other one's...
Oh, yes, sorry, yes, that's right, yes.
So 100 is okay.
100 is the existing. Yeah, the future is 540. So that's the lower pressure zone reservoir. So what are the recommendations? And we did a detailed analysis on fire flows within the system. I didn't want to bore you all with those details and the upgrades that are required and what the fire flow demands are in the different areas. But the largest fire flow is right down here in the commercial core. We have your municipal office, you've got your pub and restaurant across there, which is water structure. You have your lumberyard over there, which is a lot of fuel potential. But the recommendations from the study, and this is just a very brief, broad overview of the recommendations. Apply for and secure groundwater license from the provincial government. That's your number one priority, because that's not required. You want to secure that water. You want to make sure that you have that water, and someone else doesn't come along and say, we have rights to that water. You want to secure your groundwater license. You then want to try and increase the production of your well field to the estimated long-term safe yield of 2424 that was estimated by the Loan Hydrology Group, again, which is 28 liters a second. And that's done by replacing well 6. There's some problems with well 6 and its performance. Sand getting into the system, and there's some work needing to be done there, and it's probably best just to drill a new well, abandon the existing and build a new one from a cost standpoint. Then redeveloping wells 4, 9, and 12, and redeveloping is done through paving and surging, where you pump water down and pull it out and try and remove the sands that have migrated in and around the well, drawdown area, and sort of create more voids down there for water to flow freely to the well itself. Increase your reservoir storage volumes, upgrade water mains to improve firefighting capabilities, continue replacement of your aging asbestos cement water main lines, and then secure additional water supply sources in order to service the properties within the OCP map 7 water source area. That's a big map that we showed that had the blue areas highlighted. That's the end of the slide.
Okay, thank you. Council members, questions, comments?
I've got a number of questions, but a compliment first to Coors. Thanks. I think this is a very good collection of information, and to Fred as well. Between this and the loan information, it's a good bit of information to sink our teeth into and make some decisions going forward. So I appreciate having this. Question. Page 30 of the big binder, pertaining to the margin of safety. So I'm just going to try and get to that. A variety of ways to think about this, but I'm ultimately looking at the table, bouncing around here now, on page 32 that gives the number of connections with the different municipalities at the different rates of the wells. You know, 70%, 80%.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll find the slide.
Yeah, I've got it right there.
Yeah. Is there a recommended margin of safety from the data you guys have looked at?
I've never seen a recommended margin of safety, but I'm not a hydrologist. You'd have to close that lower hydrologist.
Okay.
The best ones to speak to that.
Right. Because there's a lot of different ways to kind of skin this cat, so to speak, looking at design data, MMC data, actual use data. So to make sure we're making good decisions with what appears might be available capacity. If we took wherever the wells end up for what they can deliver, where would we want to target for usage?
Yes. Yeah. One of the things you need to consider is if you have 4 wells that are producing and you're saying, well, we need all 4 wells operating to meet the maximum demand. What if the well goes down?
Yeah.
Whether there's a power failure or malfunction, computer malfunction, or pump overheats. So you don't have that source, so that's where your factor of safety come in. You use 75%, use 80%, use 60%. I don't know. That has to be a decision that's made with more information available.
Mr. Spears.
Actually, that information was in the Low and Hydrology Treaty report, the first one. When doing the report, I believe he was using 30% as a safety factor over the 100-day drawdown. So there's a 30% factor on his numbers. not just on the 2400, but 2400 is the safe view.
Oh, so it's already margin of
It's
safety
already in
that.
that. Yeah, it's already in that. Yeah.
Okay, that was another question I had. Was that full 100% utilization rate, or was there already margin there? So,
No, the errors are in.
That's
The other thing you might want to think about too is when you're thinking about maximizing the well field, storage has a huge part to play in it. If you had a well that went down for a half a day, you just want to make sure you have enough storage to adequately supplement the system until that well's back up.
Yes.
So those are the kind of things that you have to look at when
Oh, yeah.
you're looking at
And I know we'll have to knock this around a lot more
Yeah.
amongst ourselves, but just trying to get an idea of where I'm thinking of some of this stuff.
Additional questions?
Yeah, a couple more, then
Go
I'll
for it.
stop. And then
It's okay.
Class D, just to confirm that, is that plus or minus 30 or 40%?
It's roughly plus minus 30 to 50% is Class D. It's the high order of magnitude broad overview. You don't know exactly what's going to be built yet, generally speaking, what the cost may be.
Okay. The north wind, south wind being brought into this. Not sure who best asked this. Why did we choose that area in particular?
It wasn't just that area. You'd see all the numbers from like the Owen Road area, from Clark and all those places. But the northwind, southwind area is so far away from our existing system that we had to look at what it would take to service that area. And a lot of that work was already done, so it's just incorporated in here.
Okay.
So we had that information years ago, and we just kind of incorporated it all into this. So every bit of information we've gotten over the years has been compiled into this one report.
Okay, so that was a worst case scenario based on a number of connections, some distance away, and happened to be.
Yeah, what upgrades were necessary for like the Ellis Road, how much bigger would the tank have to be to service north and south area?
Okay. Regarding the reservoir and the potential increasing of height in it or relocation of it, might be mixing up my facts, but I know we had talked about with the foothills combined reservoir, it was significantly higher. I think I saw 200 meters referenced in this report.
It's 160 meters top water level is what we're looking at for the upper zone for existing residents.
Yep.
It's quite a bit higher than that for the foothills. They're large on the top side.
Right.
But what the existing residents in the upper zone need is to make it all the way up to north and south would be the top water level.
Right.
160.
Where I was going to head with this ultimately was I saw the impacts on pressures because of the added head. So if we go up to 200 meters, that is a lot of extra pressure. So it wouldn't be a simple matter of just combining our water with the foothills reservoir, getting that extra pressure and solving our fire flow issues. We would have pressures significantly over design pressures in a lot of the areas coming off of that reservoir up there.
Well, that can all be adjusted by PRVs.
PRVs, yeah.
Yeah, just inline PRVs all the way.
Yeah, okay. I'll put that. I'll stop there. I might have a few more if that's okay.
Okay. Councillor Hain?
I just have a comment. I also appreciate the report. Thank you very much. It's a lot of information, and it's nice to have it in one big binder. So that's great, and it's great to have the loan report in here too. I think the biggest thing for me, other than the questions John's asking, are that, you know, for residents, I think this is another option now for water outside of Nanaimo. Like, this is now putting more options on the table and things for us to think about for water servicing in the community. So that's a big thing going forward for the discussion of water in this community. And it's kind of nice to now say, okay, we've got a few options out there now, not just one. So let's open up this dialogue a lot more. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
From my standpoint, just kind of picking up on a couple of words that you said, not to kind of put you on the spot, but on one of the slides, which is the number of properties serviced based on 2014 average and maximum day demand, the word you used was speculation. And then on the later slide, you used the words if. Not to pick on the wording. And those worry me when it comes to water. So, you know, understanding how much safety factors already built in there, in coming up with that speculation. So for example, according to what Mr. Spears has said, the 2424 already has built into it a safety factor from the Lowen report. I guess it's trying to figure out if that's enough safety factor, given the possibilities of a well going down or 2 dry summers in a row and a variety of things like that.
Yeah, I think moving forward, the information that they suggest that you can service more customers than you're presently on the system, but how people will respond to that, you won't know until they actually do it. So my personal recommendation would be, if you're going to increase, look maybe in the range of 10 to 15% from what you currently are servicing. So some are doing 100 to maybe 150 connections. Bring those online, but only do that once you've established what your well field can actually produce. Once you've quantified, once you've done your well field upgrades, you know exactly what you can produce, then start to provide service to additional properties, get about 10 to 15% increase. Monitor that, see what people's reactions are, not just the new users, but the existing users, and see what's happening on your average and maximum demands per person. And if they're staying level, well then you maybe do another 10 to 15% increase, or maybe a little bit larger depending on the service area involved. But proceed with caution, would be my recommendation.
The other part, and this is just a personal thing, it seems to jump between liters per capita and cubic meters per household.
Yes.
Which one's best? Because they are different depending on what you perceive your people per household is.
Liters per person.
Okay.
That's the general design standard.
Is there a reason for that versus per household? Is it just because most water is used by the individual as opposed to the grounds?
Yes.
Per se?
Generally speaking, it's because information comes from Stats BC or BC Canada on population. It's persons, it's not necessarily households. So, and population is easier to track than household, generally speaking.
Okay. And the only other thing is that in the list of scope of work, it had under servicing Northwind Southwind area, prepare cost estimates for required works. Did I miss that in
Yeah, it's page 6 of it.
the report? There's a list of infrastructure that needs to be done, but was there a cost associated with that?
Yeah, I was just thinking off the top of my head, we may have missed that in the report, but I know we've done it under a subsequent assignment to work out what those costs were.
Okay.
We can certainly put that in the report if it's not there.
I-
It probably isn't.
I'd like to see that because that
Yeah, it'd be great.
could be a big number.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Coulson?
That was one of them I had left, and just another little detail one. On page 50, it talks about the pressure from the Nanaimo water system being just below what our reservoir head would be. 158 meters versus 160. Would that just be dealt with through a booster pump system, perhaps?
Well, the 2 meters are the top water level, right? So
Yeah.
it will basically fluctuate inside the tank.
Right.
And when you just drop a few meters, you can always compensate for that with your PRVs as you go down the system.
But for supply, if Nanaimo can only output 158 meters ahead and we're running.
Actually, in Nanaimo, if we're at top water level 160, we'll actually drop it down to 158. That's all they can supply. But that's what they can supply under maximum day demand.
Okay.
So during the rest of the day, they would supply.
Yeah, so it's a daily fluctuation. Okay.
Any further from council?
Number 9.
Sorry, last one.
Yeah.
Our water conservation plan. I didn't see any mention of that in here, potentially reducing our water usage.
No, it wasn't incorporated into this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, just if it's all right with council, there's an item 7B, which is the staff report related to the Wellfield Management Plan Stage 2, detailing out the background as well as some information and discussion that's come out of the report itself. If we want to, what we can do is we can move that forward and do a motion to receive both the Coors report as well as the staff report. What would you like to do? Okay.
Yep, sure.
Okay, so is there any questions or comments related to the staff report?
Any sensitivity on any of this, rehabilitation-wise, or?
Well, it's kind of funny you asked that. Basically, this year would be the ultimate year to actually do the well 6 replacement. Then you would know what you got in a drought season. But, I mean, that would have to happen in the fall season.
For redrilling?
Yeah. October.
So I did catch, you'd say we re-drill a new well.
Yeah.
So we keep current well 6 in operation, get the new one up and running, and just swap over.
Okay, anything further related to the staff report? Okay, so we have a motion to receive both reports. Moved by Councillor Coulson, seconded by Councillor Hain. Discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, which gets us down to Councillor Coulson changing chairs. So we have item 5A and 5B, 2 pieces of correspondence. We can deal with them separately or together, depending on what you'd like. Any desire to deal with them separately?
No.
Councillor Coulson?
No, I don't really understand why we got a copy of the first one, but
It's quite a
deal it together and I'll ask the question.
Quite a common thing. Okay, so we have a motion to receive unless somebody intends to do something with either of them. Motion received, Councillor Coulson, seconded by Councillor Hain. Discussion, Councillor Coulson.
Yeah, so granted I didn't read through this several times, but my first pass is this just background information really that we're getting, or is there some broader initiative at work here that to warrant this being sent to the entire UBCM membership?
Are you talking about the letter
From the Peace River.
From the Peace River Regional District on the ALR, and
I think they're just looking for local government support in general, so they're probably broadcasting it to everybody.
okay.
Yeah. It's pretty standard practice, I think, for a lot of areas to send stuff out on a broadcast basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just when I look at the distribution list, like Premier Clark and MLAs and folks like myself.
You're an elite group.
You're an auspicious company.
Well, question why I was in that group. But
There you go. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Verbal updates, Councillor Hain.
Just again to remind you of Minetown Day, we're planning. It's all coming together, September the 12th. Sounds like it's going to be a good event, and I want to encourage everyone to come out.
Question, are the plugs operational?
And not at the present time, no, we're waiting for the hookup from BC Hydro. We're hoping within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So it'll definitely be in place for Minetown Day?
There's no guarantee from BC
The intention is?
Hydro. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Councillor Hain? For myself, nothing to report. I've been out of town. Councillor Coulson?
Myself.
Okay, you are out of town as well.
Okay.
Okay, Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes.
Move that council receive the June 25th, 2015 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting minutes for information.
Moved by Councillor Hain, seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Just question, Councillor Hain, with regards to the bike park
Yes.
aspect. Where's that?
Well, we're working on it. We're working on sending out some expressions of interest to various groups to get some help on the design.
Okay. And what kind of groups would be included in that?
Like mountain bike park groups, people who've already put in that type of facility. There's some in Nanaimo. I've been given the name of an individual who works for Ministry of Parks. He might be interested in helping us. So that's who we're going to send it to.
Okay. Councillor Coulson?
Yep, I had one on bottom page 12 regarding the Woodlock Trail and the grant that potentially going to be applied for? Just, it says the chairperson confirmed that an application was not submitted due to application requirements.
Right.
Just, what happened?
Just timing on getting it put together and,
Okay.
yeah.
And there was also some logistics related to our
Tenure. And
tenure.
the sign off of certain environmental features where you've got, creek rocks. It wasn't what I would call a shelf-ready application.
Yeah.
So while the desire was certainly there to try to acquire some of the funding, I think the staff actually got a closer look at what was required in the application, and with the deadline of looming of 1 p.m., I think, on June 17th, it just, logistically, it was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But what I would suggest is that it's the kind of thing that you probably want to try to ensure that we're shelf ready the next time a grant program comes available, so that it's a matter of knowing what the requirements and having them fulfilled, and then you can fill out the blanks and submit your application. The program was actually announced, I think, in January or February of this year. So we kind of got down to 0 hour, if you want. We're pretty close.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I was curious how much advance notice we get of these programs. I don't recall seeing it myself in January, February, but through an email that came out weeks before I think it started. So just generally we have decent notification to get some of these things together. Is that
Well, I mean,
typical?
I can't speak for where council didn't get the notice.
No,
I just know the program was announced,
Yeah.
and usually what ends up happening is those kinds of programs are well subscribed. In fact, often oversubscribed. And I think it's safe to say, in my past experiences, if you have an application for a grant program, if you don't meet and fulfill all of the all of the requirements within the application, those applications go to one side and are looked at again. It's all those that actually meet all of the application requirements, and then they start reviewing them. So we don't think we were going to get moved to the not enough information file.
The Ministry of Forest does have a program on right now providing funding for signage. So we did send a letter and a bit of a little proposal asking for a $2,000 grant from the Ministry for signage for the woodlot. So they're working on that right now.
Any further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. CEO's report for July 2015. Jim's put together a report in a very small font.
I've got reading glasses.
Yeah. Questions, comments, information needed. Okay, details the activities update since Jim's been here, including the strategic plan, the fire department, and the by-election activity. Okay, if nothing, we have a motion to receive. Councillor Coulson, second by Councillor Haynes.
Sorry, I do
Discussion.
have one
Councillor
question.
Haynes.
So where are we at on the fire chief staffing issue? Are we putting that on hold until September, or I can't remember what we decided to do.
Well, through Mayor Hain to Councillor Hain, the previous council had made a recommendation to proceed with, based upon the Murray report, to proceed with the position of a paid part-time chief. The problem that we run into now with a quorum of 3 is that the minister's order has said that you cannot incur any additional legal and or financial liability. And the actual funding of the position was not included in the financial plan. So what it's going to require is an amendment to your 2015 financial plan, which will require the full council after August the 31st to deal with that.
Oh, okay.
And then once that's resolved, then you can commence.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any further? None. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Fire chiefs.
Good to see one of these again. Thank you.
Yeah. Fire chief's report, second quarter. Chief what's put together, including the activities and the recruitment that's taken place with regards to the department. Questions, comments? I see Tom here.
No, move receipt.
Moved to receipt by Councillor Haynes, seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Actually, I just will illustrate one thing. It does mention in there with regards to working with other departments to create an honor guard. And Deputy Chief Marmot, Captain Lundman, and Senior Firefighter Ken Spence represent the Alliance Gold Department on this team, which is made up of 10-member departments within District 69. So that's a new addition.
Yeah.
Okay, anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Financial Services Second Quarter Finance Report. Mr. Lang's put together a report for us on the second quarter finances, including the cash position, property taxes receivable, of which there's approximately, at the time of the report, $309,000 remaining outstanding, which is about 5.8% of our taxes. The residence taxes, as well as delinquent taxes of $41,800. Questions, comments? Councillor Hain?
Just a question through to Fred. The water main replacement project, I thought they'd be further along than this. Is this sort of out of date?
This is as of June 30th, Councillor.
That's still not that long ago.
No, actually, the way the billing works when they're doing projects is monthly. So the first month has already been completed. I just signed off on that, I believe, today.
Oh, okay.
So that's gone through. And they're probably going to come back with a final inspection sometime next week because they're pretty much completed. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
Have there been any challenges that are going to cost us money? Yeah. That's all I care about. Okay, so with regards to the report, did we make a motion?
No. Did we get these?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Call the first score anyways.
Okay. Motion to receive?
So moved.
Councillor Coulson, Councillor Hain, discussion? None, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. It's some unfinished business. Phantom Road culvert replacement tender awards. Fred's put together a report detailing the results of our tender call and recommendation that to be awarded to CopCan Civil Limited in the amount of $96,678.23, including the GST. What would council like to do?
I move that council award the contract for the replacement of the Phantom Road culvert to CopCan Civil Limited in the amount of $96,678.23, including GST.
Second? Second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Councillor Coulson.
Through to staff, the environmental mitigation work, how big of a component is that to this project?
Well, we're probably looking at $5,000 to $7,000 worth of work. I just actually got the permit back today, and I was reading through it, so it might be a little bit higher than that, but it should be between 5 to probably between 5 and 9.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Which moves us along to item 7C, which is the report on portable signs to promote public meetings. So Lisa's put together a report detailing the implications for a public sign, noting that the receipt of a sign since the original request was made back in January. So there's a recommendation there with regards to receiving the report and withdrawing the motion, which was to buy a sandwich board, which is what we did back in January, I believe.
Move received.
Move staff recommendation there.
Move staff recommendation.
Move staff recommendation. Do you have a second? Councillor Hain, discussion. Councillor Hain.
So this will get us the sandwich board sign to advertise meetings?
Yes.
Yes, the one that's got the fourth stage 4 water. And we're just limited to the 2?
Yeah, if you're being consistent with your own bylaw, yeah, one sandwich board out at a time.
Right.
So right now we just use it for stage 4 restrictions. And so we would be, I guess, competing a little bit on our council meeting night and switching the sign.
Right. The only reason I'm thinking...
However,
Keep going.
is on another district property, one property, we have another sandwich board for stage 4 location there.
Okay. So say, for example, we had an item on the agenda that's a large topic. It would be nice to have a sign here and then a sign at wherever the venue is.
You know, like if it was a cost.
Yeah, Coston Hall or the Legion, so people know where to go, because that was the issue once when we moved the venue. People didn't know where to go.
But there's only so many
Well, it's with two.
allowances that we could make at this stage. The main
Yeah.
part of this motion originally was to create some signage here
Yeah.
to get more people to come to the meetings. Thank you.
But it'd be easy to add another one if we wanted to. You just amend the bylaw. Wouldn't it?
Well, we wouldn't have to amend the bylaw. It'd be different. Sorry, Lisa?
You could have a sign here redirecting people to Coston Hall, and at Coston Hall you could have another sandwich board, so we meeting here tonight.
Oh, can we?
So
Okay.
that would be
Yeah.
one way to address that.
Okay.
And then you'd have one per,
Property.
For district property. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all I
not
wanted.
limited by the ownership, it's by the property.
That's what I wanted to know.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
right, sorry. I was referring to Coston Hall. In the case of the Legion, Trudy's just pointed out we don't own the Legion. However, and the Legion is able to put their own signage, so we could ask them to put it on their signage for us, on their sandwich board. They're allowed to put in one plus their own sign. So on district-owned property, we can do it. And we have the ability, we're exempt from our own bylaws with the use of the road right of way, whereas the Legion and other businesses have to put it on their property.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay. Perfect. Great.
We have the flexibility without changing anything. I think we can do it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. New business,
Will that remove that prior motion then?
that did that. I withdrew the motion. Built into that staff recommendation. Okay, Minetown Day Parade road closure. So basically, we're looking for instructions on whether or not they close the road for Minetown Day.
I move that council authorizes the closure to traffic of that portion of Lanceville Road from 7113 Lanceville Road to Lanceville School Road from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday, September 12, 2015 to facilitate the Minetown Day Parade.
Second by Councillor Coulson. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Corporate admin on the inaugural council meeting scheduled for August the 31st. The original motion itself, while it laid out August the 31st, it laid out this office or this building. We're proposing to reschedule it to the Legion branch. So basically, we needed the motion to reschedule it to be located at the Legion at 7 p.m. on the August 31st. So moved by Councillor Coulson, seconded by Councillor Hain. Discussion? Councillor Hain?
I just want to say I'm looking forward to having a full council at the next meeting, which is exciting. And I also want to wish all the candidates good luck. And I wish I could say I hope you're all successful. I hope it's a good voter turnout.
Okay, any further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Gets us to public participation. Okay. Having their... Oh, now they start. Mr. Hallowell, name and address for Trudy.
Lancaster.
Don't remember which
I
house
would
it is.
just like to thank the three of you for giving us some stability in the last little while and carrying on with the administration. Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
Forward to the report.
Thank you, John. Name and address for the record.
Doug Parker, Harwood Drive. I'd just like to remind council that there are two parts of Lanceville. There's an upper and lower Lanceville. And yet again, we see the signage being done only for lower Lanceville.
I know.
And I just want to remind council that there is an upper part that we pay taxes as well. You know, not that I've ever mentioned that before.
Mr. Parkhurst, do you suggest that a sign be put up in Upper Lanceville too, advertising a meeting, for example?
Well, if you're going to do that, you should treat all citizens equally.
And where would you suggest such a sign be placed?
Then that's something you should science have to figure out, shouldn't you?
Ooh, interesting.
We're going to corner the market on sandwich boards and buy some district property.
There we go. Yeah, we got to buy a property and put signs on it. Any further public participation? Name and address, please.
Bob Copeland, 7401 Halls Road. I'll put it in front of my property.
Yeah.
Strategically located.
residential people. Okay, any further? Okay, somebody want to read the first part of that motion?
Hey, now you go, because I already put mine away.
Wizard spot.
I move that council closes the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 9E, subsection 1A, C, F, G, H, I, K, and L of the community charter for the purpose of considering
Just do little bits of each one.
personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, labor or other employee relations, law enforcement, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality, an administrative tribunal hearing or potential administrative tribunal hearing affecting the municipality, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at the preliminary stage, and discussion with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measures, progress reports, etc.
All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
I think the